I have to say, I don't think it's that foggy in London anyway. So does this joke even work? Let's ask one of our resident French nationals, Flo Villamino.
Well, I'm a half frog, and frogs are delicious. That's another stereotype, so I think it's pretty good.
You're all right with it?
I'm all right with it.
Okay, all right. Well, thanks so much, Will Hildebrandt, for that officially not offensive business news update. We'll see you later on in the day here on France 24. Come back to you, though, Flo. You've got some much less humorous stories to bring us. We're looking through the international papers at the headlines around the world. We are going to start off with what's also our top story in our main news bulletin, the efforts to recapture Mosul. You're starting us off with American newspapers.
That's right. The Wall Street Journal is focusing on tensions that are starting to emerge amongst the allied forces who are trying to recapture Mosul from the Islamic State group. If we take a look at the front page of the Wall Street Journal, you can see they're talking about those tensions. Now, the pace of fighting has slowed down a little bit, and they're talking about, for instance, Kurdish Peshmerga forces consolidating their gains and starting to criticize their partners in the Iraqi military. Now, there's a great cartoon in the New York Times by Shapat that focuses on these tensions as well, perhaps where these tensions come from. You can see here they're focusing on the worldly powers that are trying to lead this operation. You can see the Iraqi army, Turkey, the Peshmerga forces as well, the Kurds. That person that looks maybe like a French person, looks a little bit like Napoleon, exactly. They're all saying in unison, "On my command." So, of course, it can get a little confusing when too many people are giving orders.
And cartoons, just such an efficient way of portraying the many opinions about this kind of story. You've got some from the Arab language press.
That's right. Now, a lot of papers in the region are very concerned about, of course, the plight of civilians. There are 1.5 million inhabitants in Mosul. This is a really good one from Al-Quds. That's a pan-Arab paper based in London. You can see this woman here. What that says is Mosul. And so you can see this woman, the civilian, calling for help from that hole that is Mosul. A great cartoon as well in Al-Hayat. That's another pan-Arab paper based in London. I really like this one. It's focusing on what's happening in the towns around Mosul, which have already been liberated. You can see here those black ISIS bats flying away, pulling off the black headscarf that was covering this woman, the black veil. You can see it's revealing another veil, a more colorful veil. And once again, what's written on her headscarf there is Mosul, a way of saying Mosul in Arabic.
Very effective, those cartoons. Let's stay in the region, but move across to Syria. We've also been reporting about how the First Lady of Syria, Asma al-Assad, has given a very rare TV interview. It was to a Russian state-backed news channel.
That's right. This is Russia 24. It's getting a lot of attention in Russia, it must be said. This is an article in the Moscow Times focusing on this. You can see she took advantage of this interview to condemn what she calls the biased Western media, saying that it has an agenda. Now, she also talked about offers that she had gotten for asylum. Yes, I was offered the opportunity to leave Syria, or rather run from Syria. This was a deliberate attempt, she says, to shatter the people's confidence in her husband, Bashar al-Assad. Now, this is her very first interview with an international media since the civil war began in 2011. The last time she gave, the last time there was a portrait of her and she made a major appearance in the international media was in 2011, a profile in Vogue magazine, in fact, titled "A Rose in the Desert." We talked about this back then.
It's a long time ago.
It's a long time ago. And what's interesting is that interview since has been taken down. So this is her speaking out.
All right, we were just talking with Will Hildebrandt before in the business news about some of the aftermath of the UK's so-called Brexit vote. In the UK, some of the newspapers there continuing to focus on fallout on the economy in particular.
That's right, and particularly rising prices. If we take a look at the front page of the newspaper, they're talking about how inflation rose 1% in September. That's the highest level in almost 2 years. You can see inflation raises the painful Brexit fears. Now, experts warn that it's especially low-income families that are going to bear the brunt of this. If we take a look at an article in The Independent, they're focusing on this. You can see higher inflation will cost poor families an extra £100 a year, which is a lot for families that are struggling, and it could get worse. Senior economists say inflation could rise by 3% in 2017.
All right, let's stay in the UK with another incredibly international story. Julian Assange, a long-term guest at the Ecuadorian embassy. He no longer has access to the internet. I almost can't wonder what he's going to do.
Exactly.
I hope he has books.
He's been living there since 2012. Now, Ecuadorian authorities released a statement yesterday saying, yes, they had cut off his internet access. A lot of this has to do with a recent leak from WikiLeaks, the company that he founded. In this leak, it was a leak of Hillary Clinton's emails, and they said this is having a major impact on the U.S. presidential election, and of course, they don't interfere in foreign elections, and that's why they cut off his internet access. But of course, Republicans are calling on foul play. This comes as Donald Trump is saying that the election is going to be rigged. That's getting a lot of attention in the U.S. media as well. The New York Times focuses on the fact that he's calling on his followers to turn up to polling stations on Election Day, and that's a cause of concern in the U.S. media.
Indeed, what a truly international romp around the world's newspapers. Thank you very much, Flo Villamino, there with our press review.